I like Japanese murder mystery games, you know, Zero Escape, Danganronpa, that kind of thing. Accordingly, I was intrigued when pretty much every big name in the genre ditched Spike Chunsoft and formed their own company, Tokyo Games. Sick of merely beating the Danganronpa dead horse, the sequel-loving suits at Spike Chunsoft were probably threatening to create some Saw-inspired automated horse-beating machine, pumping out sequels with their creative directors at the helm. A creator free from their shackles, however, does not necessarily make better art. George Lucas and the dismal Star Wars prequels, or whatever happened to Dragon Ball after the Android saga, are prime examples. Today I'm talking about Tokyo Games' first offering, World's End Club. I had to fish up my iPad and sign up to Apple's subscription service just to play this fucking game. Generally, I'd make an overblown analogy to emphasize my frustration, but I think signing up for another corporate overlord subscription service is basically top tier in the hierarchy of minor annoyances. I don't want to harp on about the gameplay, but stone the flaming crows. World's End Club delivered what you'd expect from a mobile platformer. Mario World 1-1 was harder than anything this game threw at me. The pain was somewhat eased, however, by the ability to connect a PS4 controller to my iPad. I was expecting Apple to charge me a kidney for some mandatory dongle. The gameplay was, to be fair, mostly inoffensive. Despite coming off as a prolonged tutorial, it kept out of the way of the selling point of the game, the story. I don't like cum spawn, you know, womb walkers, titty sucklers, chi-ucking ill-unting dren. Excuse my roundabout language, it's just apparently YouTube despises the jizz hatchlings more than I do. As such, the reason I chose to review the exploits of a gaggle of snobby brats frockling in the rainbow glitter-clogged bowels of a Nickelodeon cartoon is beyond me. Although, the thought of watching the little shits forced to tear out each other's gizzards was appealing. World's End Club begins with a flash forward to the end. With a cliche that's stupid even when successful, the game reveals that no characters will die in the first 5 minutes of what's been advertised as a murder mystery. This is a move as logical as gone to Macca's for the healthy choices menu. The murder game I was looking oh so forward to was over before the opening credits, and jarringly without seeing any actual death. And what comes across like someone changing their order mid-sentence at a restaurant, the pint-sized pricks escape the murder game. Then we are presented with the actual premise. Humanity is extinct because, you know, the apocalypse is so underexplored in video games. It's commonplace in storytelling to start with a bang and then back off the tension, but World's End Club takes us from everybody's brainwashed and forced to kill each other by a crazed robot to leisurely stroll across the Japanese countryside in record time. The goal is to get to Tokyo, but the destination's significance is so weak I can't remember what it was. The primary antagonist was dead, the mysteries weren't enticing, and ultimately I was stuck with a bunch of little private school cunts lecturing me on their dramatic pasts. The Japanese have a very diplomatic way of handling character development and tend to divvy out character arcs like Little League participation trophies. Like Democracy, however, the system isn't without its flaws. When you can see the hand of God deliberately sculpting character trauma and then using it to block the path, progressing the plot, what is intended as a heart-wrenching scene becomes nothing but a box checked off a clipboard. In another overt example of spoon-feeding, character stereotypes in World's End Club are rigid. Like the Seven Dwarves, most can be described with one word. Happy, sassy, tsundere, fatty, grumpy, gender ambiguous. Well, that's 2 words, but you get the point. One-dimensional is a kind way of putting it. Fatty, for example, is actually named Mu-chan because he's fat. Like a cow, get it? Of course the game's humour is as mature as its heroes. Mu-chan is forever either the butt of an oh-so-hilarious fat joke or talking about how much he likes food. Any interesting character arcs are saved for the third act, which leaves the second act as frustrating filler, consisting of the plot occasionally flashing its knickers while tolerating shitty characters and their various daddy issues. It just felt like half the characters, along with the insufferable side quest of a second act, could have been cut, preferably with a blood-drenched axe in a Danganronpa-style execution scene, and you might just fix the game. The pacing issue of Japanese games is often predictable. Instead of doing the exciting thing, like fighting giant alien robots or whatever, you almost invariably spend the first half of the game on a high school roof friend-zoning a childhood crush. World's End Club, conversely, has the opposite issue. The game's constantly throwing new conflicts or mysteries at you and resolving them before tension has any time to build. Resolutions, as a result, feel disconnected and inconsequential to the overall story. Mind you, the third act was nearly flawless. An antagonist returned, the plot started tackling philosophical themes, the tension skyrocketed, and I was even caught off guard by a decent plot twist. Unfortunately, I found it hard to shake the sickeningly dreary tastes that lingered from earlier. World's End Club feels slapped together. Half-assed, passionless, and with an oddly strange tone, the bright, colourful presentation lacks the carefree mood and genuine comedy of, say, AI the Somnium Files. Neither does it effectively juxtapose the darker elements of the story, ultimately coming off as merely unsettling. The plot twists, for the most part, are predictable, irrelevant, reused, and done better in in other games of the genre. Perhaps my theory about newfound creative freedom was right. World's End Club did remind me in a few ways of the Phantom Menace. Half the characters could be convincingly replaced with cardboard cutouts, the jokes were cringy and never landed, there's annoying little brat characters, an interesting villain criminally underused, and it doesn't hold a candle to anything in the series prior.